Welcome back to Hope and Grief, finding comfort in God's Word. Today, we turn to one of the most heart-wrenching stories in the Bible, the story of Job. A man who lost everything, his wealth, his health, and worst of all, his children. If you've ever experienced layer upon layer of loss, if you've wondered where is God when the grief doesn't stop, then watch this. The Bible tells us in Job 1:1 that Job was blameless and upright. He feared God, he was blessed with 10 children, thousands of animals, and a respected reputation. But then, in a moment, everything changed. Job 1:13-19, one messenger after another brings terrible news, first his livestock, then his servants, then his children. Job 1:20-21, the Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Even in his shock and sorrow, Job worships, not because he's okay, but because God is still God. For many of us, grief is not just a moment, it's a long, painful season. And Job doesn't just have one bad day. He then loses his health. He sits on an ash heap, scraping his skin with broken pottery. His friends come, and at first they just sit in silence. For 7 days, sometimes that's the best thing anyone can do for someone who is grieving. Job 3:1, after this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. Job doesn't pretend. He doesn't fake a smile. He says things like, "Why didn't I die at birth? What I feared has come upon me." Job shows us that God can handle our pain. Psalm 62:8, pour out your hearts to him, for God is our refuge. After Job pours out his pain, his friends begin to speak. And this is where things go wrong. They blame Job. They say, "You must have sinned. God is punishing you." But they were wrong. God later rebukes them for misrepresenting him. Job 42:7, you have not spoken of me what is right, as my servant Job has. This teaches us to be careful not to spiritualize someone else's suffering when people are grieving. They don't need answers. They need presence, empathy, and love. Sometimes the best ministry is silent compassion. After many chapters of silence, God finally speaks in Job 38, but he doesn't give Job all the answers. Instead, he reveals his greatness, his wisdom, and his control over the universe. Job 38:4, where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? God wasn't being harsh. He was reminding Job, you may not understand, but I am still in control. In grief, we may not get explanations, but we can get revelation, a deeper sense of who God is. The book of Job ends with restoration. God restores his fortunes, blesses him with more children, and grants him long life. Job knew God more deeply. Job 42:5, my ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Grief changed Job, but it didn't destroy him. He met God in his pain. So can you? Friend, if you're walking through wave after wave of grief, know that your pain is not forgotten. What has Job's story taught you about grief? Subscribe and stay with us for the next episode.